Good morning, Lafayette. I'm your meteorologist, Brian Burden. Yes, your local forecaster who gets dressed up however he feels like in the morning. No suits, no ties, nothing like that. Just the guy who's going to give it to you straight and talk to you and enjoy and have a good morning throughout the morning. If you're home this morning from 9 to 10 with the kids, maybe you're going to be able to watch a little bit. We'll talk some weather. We'll talk the headband. Why do I have the headband on? Why? Because Purdue won again this weekend, and the headband is the lucky headband. I wore one very similar when they made the run to the national championship game a couple of years ago. We're going to do it again this year. Going to keep wearing it every single day until they are done and out of the tournament. But they did get into the Sweet 16 this weekend and are heading for a game on Thursday, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But, of course, most of you come here for my sweet personality. Well, okay, maybe not that. You come here because you want to hear about weather, maybe have a little laugh here or there, and chat with me on the chat through our website, which is now Let's Talk Lafayette, of course. And we're starting to grow people and starting to slowly build, I noticed there. So hopefully you'll get a chance to tell someone you know about this place here every Monday through Friday. And then whenever maybe some severe weather is in the area, which we dodged last night, just as we said we would on Friday. It looked like it would be south of us. We got some thunder, a couple bolts of lightning. I heard some thunderstorm out there. You probably got some rain too, but most of the severe weather was south of Lafayette and down towards Indianapolis and central and southern Indiana, just as we expected when we talked about it on Thursday and again on Friday. So what does it look like today? You know, I don't mess around too much. Yes, we talk a little bit. We have a little fun. We may even get into some current events by the end of the hour or so. But generally speaking, we talk weather. And I don't talk just 2 minutes of weather or 3 minutes of weather and then talk about myself the rest of the hour. We talk mostly weather. 30 to 45 minutes of weather is what we're going to talk. And if you're really interested in that kind of thing and what happens to you and how forecasters kind of go through what they go through, and I've been doing this for 40 years now, and so I have kind of an idea of how we started when we were hand doing our own charts at times, and we would draw in our own fronts, to how the guys are doing it now where the computer does a lot of the stuff for them, and they just try to analyze and try to figure out what it's saying for them. And maybe they can give you some more of the big bells and whistle words, right? The words of weather, but I can tell you what the weather is actually going to be doing. That's for sure. And some of them are really good out there, and some of them are in our local area too. Don't be afraid to visit some of them. It's just one of those things I'm getting to enjoy doing this each and every morning. So the first thing we got to think about, and the first thing I generally tell people to think about when we think about weather, there's 2 or 3 aspects when you go about this, when you're looking at weather itself. Now, as a forecaster, kind of the first thing, I need a big, broad view of what the area looks like for sure. And maybe I need to know the local temperatures and what's going on where I'm at. So that's where we're going to go first, because you want to hear some of that too. Plus, the site I'm going to, the MSN site, it's going to show you the bug of what's happening at the airport is what it's going to do. We're going to get right into that here real quick here. So there you go. 33 degrees out at the airport right now. Expect partly sunny skies, it says, and a high of 43. Well, that's just kind of some generalities, right? You get some wind out of there. It's 13 miles an hour right now, and it feels like 16. So the wind chill's pretty good right now, early this morning. I notice it's very cloudy outside, just a gloomy look, a lot of movement to the sky. And we're kind of in that pattern behind the low pressure system where the clouds kind of rotate around the back side of it, and that's where we're stuck right now, at least throughout most of the day today. I would imagine, without even looking at anything, as the day goes on and remembering from Thursday and Friday, this is not just pulling it out of my head, but that we will slowly decrease our cloud cover as the day goes on today, and then by tomorrow and the next day, we're going to be looking pretty good and getting warmer and warmer each and every time as we go through that time frame and those patterns, as the low exits its way away from us and high pressure begins to take over. So 33 degrees right now, wind chill of 16. So it's very, very chilly out there. It looks like we got down to maybe 27 in some areas this morning, if that's the actual low for this morning. Looks like here's your temperatures, what it's expecting. Now, when we got done on Friday, I had written everything down here so I wouldn't forget. We went warm to hot until Sunday, right? Bam, nailed that bad boy. Not a hard forecast on that one, sorry. Then I said cooler on Monday, Tuesday, warm on Wednesday, Thursday, cooler Friday, Saturday, warm Sunday, Tuesday. You see the trend. Every 2-3 days, we were going to get some ups and downs. So here we go. We've got the cold day today, maybe even we'll call it tomorrow. And then look at this, 2 warm days, and then boom. Cold days, a couple in a row there. See how the trend is? So the trend, at least on the generalities of the model numbers, at least as we look at these, are the same still. Couple cold days, couple warm days, couple cold days. Chances of precipitation aren't huge, but there is looks like a little bit on Thursday, at least as I look at these numbers right through MSN, and they're taking just static numbers straight from the model itself. No actual forecasting being put into it, but that's just the way it is. And since I'm old school, I kind of like it. I kind of prefer that I get to put my little gentle touch to all the forecasts and massage the numbers one direction or another, or figure it out from there. Okay, so once we've decided what the temperature is, we kind of have a direction of winds out of the northwest, right? We work with fromies in the weather world, so it's from the northwest to the southeast at 13 miles an hour. We know it's chilly. What are we going to start looking at now? Now let's look at that big, broad picture. And since we didn't have all those big charts and all that stuff back then in the 80s when I first started forecasting, we would look at the satellite picture first. So let's go to the satellite picture, and I put on what we call a clean IR on this picture. And if you've been with me for about a month or so, we've talked about the fact that the clouds are not actually what you're seeing here. You're seeing the temperature, right, of the clouds. So, and generally speaking, the higher the cloud, the colder it is, right? That's just kind of how the atmosphere works. But we can also pick up temperatures off the ground. Earlier, when it was really cold a month or so ago, we could see pockets like this. See this in Canada up here? As we get over towards Ontario and Quebec, you see that? That's really cold temperatures. Generally below zero is where you start to get into the blues. And that's where you get into temperatures with your clouds is usually below freezing a lot of times. Not in the summer, obviously in the dead of summer it's not like that, but in the winter time frames definitely for sure. So we're seeing some really cold temperatures bottled up into Canada right now. They're not into Minnesota and North Dakota, South Dakota, or Wisconsin like they were earlier last month, especially. As we're getting to early March, maybe we picked up a couple days if I remember back, but definitely in February we saw a lot of that cold air right in here, and then it was pulled down into Lafayette and into Ohio and Illinois, with Lafayette being right about here at the end of the cursor right there. You can see that pretty easily. And what's the first thing I noticed, just looking at the big picture, is last week we had this big ridge over the eastern or western half of the United States, and there wasn't a cloud to be seen over here. Right? And then there was a trough that dropped over the eastern half of the United States, and there was lots of clouds, and all these little systems kept running along the Great Lakes just off to the northeast of Lafayette. And what that meant was really, really hot weather out there for those folks. I called it the Santa Ana winds, which was what we called it when I was in Southern California at Camp Pendleton. And it got very hot, very dry winds that you would see there. And that's exactly what they saw over the weekend there. But now look at this. We're starting to see cloud cover coming through. The jet stream has dropped a bit farther to the south in this area. And now they're starting to see more seasonable, I'd call it seasonable, high clouds. It's just high clouds for them. The mountains, yes, are probably going to get some showers of snow showers in there still this time of the year in a lot of different places. But most of the people aren't seeing anything to the ground at all. They're just seeing the potential with clouds and some pretty pictures out of that for them. But what it does indicate is the jet stream has dropped a bit farther to the south in that area. Now, it's also taken a bit of a deeper dive over the eastern half of the United States, and you can kind of see that with this frontal boundary moving off towards the east, off the coast, or getting ready to go off the coast here pretty soon. And then almost a stationary frontal boundary, and then I start to focus back out in here into southwestern Texas and western Texas to see where our low pressure systems might pop up and come up to us. Now, what I do like is when I see a stationary front like this, or what looks like a stationary front without even analyzing it yet, that the low pressure systems have a tendency to run along there, so that most of our weather would stay south of us, at least for the foreseeable future, which is a couple days usually, right? What do we see? Well, we've seen a couple systems come to our north, and then see the white here that we're starting to see here. We're picking up these temperatures on these clouds are in the white kind of temperature stream. And in this, that's showing us where the lower clouds are, and that's where they are over Indiana. Now I'm going to go zoom in a little bit closer, and we can get in closer to us than that. So what do we know we have? We've broken down the ridge over the western half of the United States. We've deepened the trough a little bit, but it doesn't go that far to the south. And it's become a little more stationary where some of the systems might be. And I think we talked about this a week or so ago, how we would watch where this kind of pattern would set up, because if it sets up farther to the north, we get into a lot of rain. If it sets up to the south, then it's a little bit more rainy down towards the south. Let's zoom in a little closer, though, and see if we can pick up some more of these clouds pretty easily. And sure enough, here's Lafayette, and you can see the clouds kind of streaming off of the lake pretty easily. They show up very distinctly between the temperature of the lake, which is warmer, and the clouds themselves. And that way I know they're pretty much in the low variety of clouds. So this would be, for your aviation purposes, this would be low cloud cover for your planes, probably in 1,000 to 1,500 foot range for bases, maybe even lower. I don't have some of the information in front of me, but that's kind of the indication there that I would see from this and when I see it. And then I see some high clouds starting to stream in out from the west. Darker deep blues and the yellows and orangish colors and kind of greenish colors you see there are much, much colder and much, much higher clouds than we see here in our local area. And we don't see any of those deeper blues. See up here over Michigan where the clouds are a little bit cooler up there. And how do you know they're clouds? Well, you can see the movement in them, right? A lot of times that pocket of cold would sit here and you wouldn't see any movement, but you'd see a deterioration getting warmer coming from the south, as you see here. See how the gray kind of changes? Whoosh, and you see how it changes. That's the change in the temperature. But you can actually see the rivers on the ground really easy, standing out in places. What we don't see is that here in Lafayette under the cloud cover. But we are going to get into some of this later on as the day goes on, as the low exits and leaves our general area. That should change this flow from this northerly flow to even more to the northwest, which will bring in drier air, right? Instead, right now, we're still getting some clouds coming kind of down the lake, and maybe the lake had something to do with some of these clouds too, and they're being stubborn at the moment. And remember also the wind direction maybe where the clouds are, which looks to be almost north to south, right? May not be the northwesterly to southeasterly winds that we're seeing at the surface. So at the surface, we may be drying out pretty easily, but, whoops, there we go. But up at where the clouds are, there the wind direction may be totally opposite, right? So we're talking northwest to south here, or north to south, excuse me. And yet the high clouds, all right, are almost west to east. Right, so you got all these differing directions in the atmosphere from south, northwest to southeast on the surface, to north to south, a little bit above the surface, to west to east in the upper levels, and you'll see all kinds of different weather with that. What this means is we're going to be gloomy for much of the morning especially, and then we'll try to clear out maybe some this afternoon and get some sunshine in here. So we may it'll feel warmer for one. I noticed the sun has started to feel warm even on the colder days, and so why we may only make the mid-40s for our highs today. It'll feel a little warmer with that sunshine on you if we can get into some of this nice open sun, which is out just over northern Illinois, and even central Illinois is seeing a lot of it right now early here this morning. So that's where we're seeing those, at least as of right now. And let's zoom in one more closer real quick, and we can see real close. You can see it there. And I see some holes and pockets, but I still see some pretty good thickness on the clouds here moving down off of the lake itself. So it's going to be a little time before we get out of this band of gloominess here early this morning, in case you're out and about and around the area. Maybe you run into it, and then we'll tack the radar over that, and you notice there could be a few, I guess, some flurries in a couple spots, but generally speaking, there's no real precipitation coming out of this. Only some isolated drops of maybe some sprinkles or some light flurries here or there. I wouldn't expect much unless you're up closer to the lake, generally speaking, on this kind of pattern and what we're looking at right now. All right, so then where do we go from here? Well, I'm already in the College of DuPage website, and this is where I get most of my data. And from here, I'm going to go right back into the College of DuPage website. And so I'm going to go open up another one here real quick just so I can go through it real fast, a little bit easier. and then I may head back to some vision here or there. All right, I'm going to go to the HER, and with the HER, which is the high resolution rapid refresh model, is what I'm going to show you. But first, I want to show you maybe some pictures of what's going on in the just around on some of the cameras, right? So we'll get one last look at what we're looking at visually, and look at how nice and clear this is up to the north, right? Up at 231 junction, very nice. I don't see much to worry about here, but you can see the low clouds, and sure enough, I can still see some spots of some sun trying to poke through, and you can see it's more really stretched out, more of a it's a stratocumulus, but it's not quite fully stratiformed and not quite cumuliform, so to speak. So that's what the difference is. You get the monikers of the two for stratocu, but in this case, it's pretty elongated, closer to a stratiform type cloud. As we head a little farther to the south, you can see, well, there's the picture on the other side. Doesn't help us much there, does it? And then there's the one on the opposite direction. Same thing, still see some open spots where I can see some sun trying to break through into the thinness. So the deck is not that thick, the cloud deck is not that thick, and that makes me hope that once the sun gets on it too, it'll help burn it off a little bit, at least a little bit from the top. As we see this here, now we go down to, this is still 231, plenty of cameras around 231 in there. All right, there was State Road 18. Here we are at 43. It looks very nice. Traffic's moving along pretty good. It looks like not too heavy. I can see some clouds off in the distance. And then we keep moving south. There we are down to State Road 25, looking back towards State Road 43. And then there's some of the brightness you can see in spots, and a little bit of darkness here and there with some of the cloud cover in different places. So you can see that on the charts. And then that you go over to 26, more of the same, and this shows it pretty nicely. You can see that the brightness in between is the sun trying to get down through the cracks in there, of course. And then we go down to Dayton, and there might even be a tinge of blue right in here, so a couple little spots already starting to show up. Here we are at 9:15 in the morning. This could be gone by noon at this rate if it keeps kind of breaking through this. And the cloud cover coming from Lake Michigan at that speed might take about 3 hours to get through here, give or take a few hours. And now, so here we are. Now we're down by State Road 28 in Frankfort, more of the same. It looks like the clouds to me are a bit thicker down here. I still see some stratiform, though. I see stretched out clouds a lot, right, of this stratocumulus that we're seeing here. But it's, again, in the lower levels, but I don't see any problems down in this direction either. So we're looking pretty good there. Let's go back into town real quick. We look up into West Lafayette, looking very nice. Traffic there. Can see the clouds pretty easily on that one too. Then we go back down. Let's go see this one here. This is the River Road one I like to look at a lot. If we can get it to pop up. There it is. And you see the traffic there. You can see some cloud cover there. Ground is really dry, so no problems. Everything's dried out since yesterday. And then let's go back over to the mall real fast and see how everybody's doing there. Traffic looks great there. It looks pretty quiet here in the early morning hours. So that's what you're seeing, at least on that front, okay, with the cloud cover and where everybody's at. All right, so now let's go back to the HER. Well, you're going to notice, again, since we did the time change, we're not seeing the 12Z is only 39% done. So if I look at it now, it's only going to give me, over a 48-hour period, which is what it's covering. I might get lucky to get 24 hours out of it during this time frame. But let's look at it real quick. Just the big broad view to see if it shows any precipitation moving in on us on the new run that's coming in now. What I see is this big old high right here coming in, right? Big old high. There you go. Kind of controlling the entire portion of the Midwest, at least the upper Midwest right now. And then it's going to drop in. And this is very similar to last week. Maybe the position's a little different than it was, but it kind of comes in and controls us. This is through the day today into tonight now is what we're looking at, hourlies here. This is 9Z, so now we're talking 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. High pressure still in control. One little system bumping to the north. Nothing really of any dramatics, and sure enough, all we get is about 23 hours of data for this right now. By 10 o'clock, we'll have most of this model in by that time frame. So I'm going to go back and look at the 6Z one. And let's see how close it was with everything here. Here we are this morning. We knew we were going to have some sprinkles and some light snow potential. It showed that, didn't it, right there, as you kind of look at that early this morning. Here we are at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10, and the high is right there in the same place. So no problems here. The big view looks to be the same. High pressure in control, pushing off towards the southeast. We see a little bit of that in just about everywhere, and no real rain in the forecast at all as we push out. This is now out till tomorrow evening, right? Here's 8 o'clock tomorrow night. The high is still in control right there, and then you're starting to shift your flow to the warm side, right? Okay, so throughout that, if you've been with me and have listened to me, we've looked at the 540 line. Okay, so 540 line is right here. They label it as 5,400 because that's what it is, 5,400 meters. We called it the 540 line back in my day, and because it was labeled 540. But that is kind of the differential between cold and warm. And north of the line, or say east of the line, would be where snowfall is, and south of the line would be where your rain is, generally speaking. And sure enough, look at this. You got your rain here. Most of your snow is up to the north of the line right there. That's where it was this morning. So when I'm looking at this, they've overlaid those lines on there. These are your ISO heights, right? These are your heights of the atmosphere and how thick and packed the atmosphere. And the thicker it is, the warmer it can be. The thinner it is, the colder it will be. That's the way to think of it, right? So they put that over the black lines, which are your isobars, and many of us have heard about those when we were in school, isobars, which is the lines of equal pressure around, say, a high-pressure system or a low-pressure system. And that's usually what you're going to see on TV. Look at the isobars doing this, right? And that kind of thing. And we look for things in isobars like how far apart are they? The closer they are together, usually the windier it is. How far apart they are up here? See how far apart they are there? No wind up there, right? So that's what you're kind of seeing. Here in Lafayette, it looks like we were kind of windy most of the night, and we're starting to edge towards areas of less wind. So that will be what we'll think of during the day today, too. The gustiness that's out there right now should slowly die away as the day goes on. And we'll check those numbers out in a little bit, too. But these are kind of put together on our surface charts now, the isobars and the iso heights, and that gives me an indication. But as I'm just watching the chart and I'm looking at the high pressure system cutting across, right here it is, right here, right? See the big circle right there, the 1032 or the 1030 is where your high is, kind of right there when it shows the lines on there, right? The isobar is 1030. I keep a look on this line right here. So here's the 5400 line or the 540 line for guys in my generation, right? So here we are this evening. It's still right just around us, right? So that tells me tonight we're probably going to get back down to freezing somewhere in that general area. But then watch what happens as the flow starts to come from the south and then back towards the southwest, right? Start to come from this direction. Watch what happens to the isotherm, the iso height, excuse me. Watch out. There it goes. It starts to retreat during the day tomorrow. Boom, boom, boom. This is Tuesday now. The high has shifted. All the weather's now starting to come in from the south and from the southwest. All of our winds, we're starting to get a warmer wind. The iso height has pushed now to our northeast, with Lafayette being right here, instead of to our southwest, which is where it's going to be today and, tonight, for sure, tonight. All right, so then we bounce back, and all this is an indicator that I'm going to be seeing some warm weather coming in, right? Now the iso height is now too far to our northeast, and off to our northwest, we see much higher iso heights, much better area where you could hold in your temperatures and allow it to become warmer during that time frame out there to the southwest of us and out to our west. Nebraska and Kansas have seen wild swings from like 90 to 30 in the last week or so. And, on our own front, we've been in the 20s and as high as almost 80 degrees in the last week, too. So there's been a lot of wild swings, and that will probably continue, it looks like, at least for the time being. This is spring. We're going to have lots of these ups and downs. Couple days of this, couple days of that, couple days of this, couple days of that. Reminds me of a song. Yeah, maybe. All right, so that's the big broad picture of the next couple of days, which look dry, kind of annoying today with the gloominess early this morning. Hopefully we'll get into some of that sunshine this afternoon. We're not looking at any real precipitation other than a couple sprinkles maybe from something somewhere. That would be about it. Temperature-wise, let's start to look at it, and we'll come back to where we are now. And so here we are, and I'm going to zoom in to the close-in sector that we have here over northern Illinois and Indiana right there. Okay, so here we are this morning, and we're going to go out to our time frame. Right now, it's 9:30, so that would be 13 to 14Z. We'll call it 14Z, and it said 33, didn't it? Said the winds would be out of the, we call it west-northwest, and we're a little more west, we'll call it northwest than we are west-northwest on it right now. But I still continue to see a lot of northerly winds and probably northwesterly winds coming just about the entire day, which means you're not going to pull any warmer temperatures north of us, are you? Because there's nothing up there. It's cold up here, too. Colder, at least, than what we should be seeing. Now, these are normal temperatures for this time of the year. 32 is about our normal low for right now. Here we are in the middle of March, right, towards the end of March. 52 and 32 are your extremes for this time of the year. So that's where we're at this point, and that's about where we are this morning, even though it feels cold because we've been so warm the last few days. Now the model says we will try to get back up there to like 43 here. You can see here on Lafayette, 43, 44 degrees. Roughly right in that general range right there is what you're going to see during that time frame. And I can see it there this afternoon. This is showing it. This is at 6 o'clock this evening, right? We'll go back and look at the cloud cover in a second to see if it changes any. But we still have kind of a northerly flow. The high is right over Lake Michigan. You can see the isobar right here, right? Kind of pinpoints it right over Lake Michigan where the high is. So the flow is still coming out of the north. Now, wind-wise, I can see out here where the high is itself. It looks more out here to me, right? I see winds coming out of the north and swinging around and going back up out of the south, right? So to me, eyeball-wise, it's dead calm over here, right? And the circulation is here. So to me, the high is actually still over here. This is this evening, right, into the late afternoon hours. That's going to continue then the cloud cover possibly coming off of the lake and why we may only see in and out portions of cloud as the day goes on. But the temperature bottoms back out tomorrow morning because of this. You see there's some pockets of some 20s around us. And so I would suspect we'll be in the 28 to 30 range pretty easily tomorrow morning, right? And then as the day goes on tomorrow, I now see isobars going in this direction. I see the ISO, I'm getting all my isobars and all my ISO heights mixed up. So the isobars are going in this direction. You notice the wind barbs are going in this direction, right? We work with fromies. They're coming from here, pointing towards where they're going, all right? So over here in Lafayette, we're now out of the south, and everybody out to the west of us is out of the south, and now the high is shifted to our east by tomorrow during the day tomorrow. All right, and now we start to warm up. We start to see an increase. We get back up to like 50, 51. Maybe the clouds are still being stubborn. We'll take a look at that in a little bit too before we start to come back down overnight tomorrow night and maybe get back down to the mid-30s. I think maybe on Wednesday morning it will be a potential. So let's take a look at those clouds. See if we can find the clouds on there. I'm pretty sure we have it. I think it's in the precipitation one, average cloud cover. So we see the clouds coming off the lake. Now it shows a bit of a batch right there. Now, this was 9Z. This was earlier this morning. When we looked at that satellite picture, it looked like this other than this little, I don't think there was much of this right here at that point, right? But it also shows that it's kind of breaking up in that area. Let's see what it does with the cloud cover as we go through the day today. I still see a lot of cloud cover. Then it scatters out for a while, early afternoon, and then we start to pick up some of the high clouds. Well, the high clouds are the high wispy stuff. A lot of times we can see the sun through that, and that may be what we see with this. And so it does, and then it gets real scattered overnight, which is going to allow the temperature to drop in the morning too. No cloud cover tonight will allow us to go back down to freezing or into the upper 20s. And then we start to pick up some of the high cloud cover from out west tomorrow or late tonight. The high cloud cover doesn't do a lot for your temperatures at night. It won't block them in or let them escape one way or the other because they're so high. Though it's the cloud cover that's closer to the ground. that affects our temperatures the most at night. All right. And then we just start to pick up some more clouds. A lot of this is high cloud cover off and on tomorrow. So it'll be one of those nice days where you see a little bit of sunshine and clouds and some pretty high clouds off and on. Maybe some nice sunsets and sunrises the next couple of mornings. And then most of tomorrow looks pretty good going into Wednesday. So no major systems anywhere on the foreseeable future there with that. And then, so that's the cloud cover amount. Along with that, how about the winds? Winds gustiness. Remember we said here we'd be gusty for a while, and then we'll start to die. Take a look at that area out to the northwest of us, right, where I said to keep an eye on for lighter winds. So as we go through the day to this morning, here we are. There's that area. See how it's coming in towards us? It's kind of circulating. You can see it around here. Now, this has the high a little bit farther to the north up over the lake, but this is tonight. This is tonight, okay? So we continue with kind of a northwesterly flow, but the winds are light overnight. So less of a wind chill. You'll still see a wind chill in the morning, maybe in the 20s, because you're talking a temperature of 28 to 32, and a light wind, probably maybe 20, maybe 15 in a couple spots if there's a gust or two in the morning tomorrow morning. But generally speaking, a very light wind tomorrow morning. This is at 6 o'clock in the morning. Just shows gusting winds to 4 knots. That means we're pretty much dead calm. And the high is generally over us at that point. And we're seeing the best effects. And then we go through the morning. Tomorrow morning, we start to pick up a southerly flow. See all these winds pointing towards where they're going? Now we're going to kick in that southerly flow we're talking about, and we'll try to warm ourselves up a little bit during the day tomorrow, but not overly, as the winds stay kind of calm again over the nighttime tomorrow night into Tuesday morning, which would now be Wednesday morning. So that's Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So the next couple days pretty calm, but dingy this morning off and on. Spots of sun trying to break out here and there, trying to make it a bit better for you. Now let's go into some of the long-range stuff a little bit farther out, all right? I'm going to go straight into the NAM right here. And we're going to look at the temperatures on this locally and what it says. Where are we talking? So this is Tuesday, right? This is Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. So let's go back and see what it says for tomorrow. It shows low 50s for tomorrow, right? So I, being the forecaster, knowing that I may see a little more sunshine tomorrow, I think we could possibly hit 55 tomorrow pretty easily with this. We'll see if they adjust it overnight and we go for 55 tomorrow. And then we cool off again on Tuesday. What's it say for today, though? Let's go back for today real quick. I forgot about that. Let's get you in here. There we go. It's still showing. Nope, this is Tuesday. I got Tuesday. Keep jumping ahead. There we go. Oh, there we go. 40, 41, 42 right in there. There we go, 43. So 42 to 45 is where I go for my high today. And then overnight tonight it shows their same thing, 29, 28 degrees for Lafayette overnight. Let's see if it gets any colder by the early morning. It doesn't, just kind of stays around there, 28. See, there's 128, but there's some 27s, 26s around. And again, with a light wind, you'll have a wind chill of 15, maybe 20 for a lot of folks. Nothing real major on that front. Tomorrow warms back up, like we said, to the low 50s to maybe 55. And then overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday, it just hovers somewhere around the upper 30s to around 42, it looks like. And then we start to warm up. Here comes Wednesday. Here comes Wednesday, back into the 60s, mid-60s, maybe even upper 60s. How about Thursday? So we push towards Thursday in the morning. It's still in the 50s. Here we are early morning, 8 o'clock Thursday morning. It's 55 degrees. And by the afternoon, the model goes out only till mid-afternoon. It's already 70 degrees. You see the pocket right there of the 70s and the 80s, not that far away at all. So 70 looks like a guarantee. We probably have another 3 to 6 hours of warming in this. So mid-70s look to be pretty good for Thursday. That's as far as this model goes out, at least at this point. So let's go out even farther temperature-wise. All right. Now we're just thinking temperatures now. We're not thinking anything about where the rain is or anything along those lines as of right now. So here it is on Thursday. It's showing 77 already, right? Let's see if it pops up any higher. There you go. 80 degrees on Thursday, potential for the European model. Now, the European model can be a little more wild, but I like the 80 degrees on Thursday potential again, just as it was on Friday. We got very near 80 again on Friday. I think it was officially 77 or 78 at the airport, but I know many of you saw your thermometers and you know you were hitting 80 in different spots. Matter of fact, driving into town, it was like 76 out here in Battleground, and I got into town, it was 80, 81. Then I got to the south side of town, and it dropped back down to like 78. So, you'll see some variances depending on where you're at, of course. But the official reading comes from the airport. All right, so 80 degrees on Thursday. Look at that potential. Then Friday morning, we drop a little cold. Here comes back in the chilliness a little bit, so we must have a little weak system go by during that time frame, which we'll go back and look at here in a little bit. And we get back into the 20s, and our highs on Saturday are only back into the 50s, which is pretty close. Remember, we said we'll get cooler on Friday into Saturday again, so there you go. So Wednesday, Thursday, we warm up. Friday, Saturday, we cool off. Sunday, boom. Monday, back into the warmth again. We get back into the 60s and the 70s. Okay, so remember, 50s is the norm this time of the year, and that's going to be about our cold, except for today, right? Most of our highs are still going to hit 50, it looks like, and even warmer, right, on any given day. So here we are next Tuesday. We're pushing 70 degrees again, and then 75, 78 on Wednesday next week. So we're still warm. Then you could see the cold come in from the northwest, couldn't you, right there? Starting to show up for next Friday. This is next Friday, April 3rd. This is that time frame, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd we've been watching for a week now. So now here we are a week closer, and it's shifted out to Friday, where it started, I believe, on Monday last week. Now we've shifted it to Friday for some kind of system coming in to reinforce some cold for a little bit. Probably short-lived, but we'll see what happens with that system in a little bit. And then, wow, it reverses very quickly back into the 80s for Sunday and Monday. Next week, the 5th and 6th of April. Warming right back up. So let's go back to the beginning here. Let's go a little bit back wider out so we can look at the model here and see what the precipitation looks like. Matter of fact, I'm going to switch it straight to the GFS. That way I can look at the precipitation in the winter mode, precipitation type mode. And we'll see where we're looking at for our precipitation over the next week or two. And here's the high. Here we are. This is Tuesday morning, tomorrow morning, right? The high is shifted here. We're getting a lot of southerly flow in the plains, right? And it looks pretty good. We see a couple sprinkles here or there maybe popping up. I think, there you go, Wednesday night into Thursday, there's a chance that, again, we're seeing lows to our northeast, trailing little cold fronts or troughs behind the system, bringing us a slight chance for some rain each time. And we've gotten very little out of this as this has done this over the last week or two. And so it builds the chances Thursday morning, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and then it looks like there's a much, much better chance Thursday night into Friday, a much stronger system, but you notice the low is still way over in Canada, and it's dragging it down around it. All right, so then it goes by on Thursday night into Friday, right? There it goes by. Ooh, look at that. Even a slight risk for some snow Friday morning this week. I'm not sure about that one, but we'll have to see on that. You notice the 540 line is to the north of that, so there could be a pocket of some cooler air in there. Maybe the atmosphere itself is stacked really cold in there, and so it snows and just doesn't have time to melt before it gets to the ground, okay? That's a possibility, too. We'll have to keep an eye on that one and see what happens with that, right? There we go. Whoop. All right, so we're going to continue going on. And what we're going to see is the 540 line drops. Here comes another high as we get into the weekend. This weekend coming up kind of controls our weather. There's another system bumping off to our northwest, and there's just nothing happening. We maybe have some chance for some light rain Sunday night into Monday, and this is very spotty at best. I wouldn't consider much of this one at right now, but we'll watch it. And then we do see that we pick up a chance for more rain on Monday. And look, where we're starting to get a little more of an influence from the south now. We're still not back into spring-type weather, right, where we see the potential for thunderstorms. But I am seeing a lot more moisture coming up from the south now, the middle of next week. All right, so it looks like it could be a rainier week next week for sure after a fairly dry week this week. Guys with the plows, now's the week to get them out there and get them moving. Maybe next week might be a little bit wetter. We watch the system go through next Thursday and Friday. See how everything's now coming from the southwest to the northeast. This is more typical spring. and severe weather potential could be happening on just about any day as we get into April for sure. And I see a lot of systems here as we get into next weekend, not this coming up weekend, next weekend, way out April 5th next weekend, right? On Easter Sunday. Looks to be rainy at the moment, but I will tell you right now, this will probably end up on Tuesday or Wednesday if this storm stays together. We have to go back a couple days because this is what the tendency is for the actual forecast for Easter will actually show up on today's map maybe 2 or 3 days before. So these are just tendencies. It kind of slides them along, the systems. But the tendency is for us to be a bit warmer and to start getting more spring-like towards the end of the model run with more chances of showers, better chances of thunderstorms, and spring-like activity. Even one shot of cold snow right there is still left on April 6th. Wow, Monday, April 6th. So that's 2 weeks away for potential on that. So still this week, not as much rain, and then more rainy potential for next week, it looks like, on this front. And the temperatures doing this up and down thing that we've been seeing for a while. Now that we've pushed it into spring, right? We've been seeing this kind of weather off and on for a while now. So hopefully this, this gives you a good indicator on this of what we're talking about. With all the different types of weather. Going back to the HER real quick, let's go back down to the zoom in real quick. Hit the temperatures one more time on here, see what the temperatures look like. Let's take a look at the visibility, see if we have any chances for fog in the next couple days. Doesn't really show much of anything. I don't see any drops in visibility anywhere. There we go this morning. We had chance for some fog in a few areas this morning. Maybe if you were down towards Montgomery County and Crawfordsville and back over towards Petersburg and stuff, there was some fog, and downstate and over on the eastern half of the state looked like they saw some fog early this morning, but nothing for us. Temperature-wise, there we were this morning. Let's go over to where we are right now. So we're homing in on 10 o'clock, and it's 33 degrees, and we're going to try to bounce ourselves up to somewhere around 43 to 45 is where I would be shooting for today. And it's all going to be dependent on the cloud cover. So let's go back to the satellite picture, and we'll switch it back one shot to the satellite, and you can still see there's plenty of cloud cover. There is a little bit more clouds in there. The model kind of stretched it out over here, I felt like, when I looked at it a little bit more. If this wasn't much. Plus, look at this. It's eroding. See how it's getting smaller and smaller, right? As we take a look at that. Let's go out one sector so we can take a little bit bigger view at it, and we can kind of see how it's coming across the Great Lakes of Lake Michigan, and you can see the warmer water there, and then the warmer weather to our south too. Look how it's a little darker down here, right? So it's warmer down towards St. Louis, obviously. And then we have the cloud cover over us. Still looks pretty thick to me. This the brighter white means higher tops. And if the bases are the same, that means this is thicker up here than it is down here, right? But we are starting to see spots of open sunshine in places, especially to our south right now, the farther you get away from the lake. So the lake could give us a stubborn day with some cloud cover throughout most of the day, but I still think we'll try to get into some of the sunshine, especially since I see this nice cut right here on this. Eventually this area, which looks like the back of it, where most of the dry air is starting to be forced in, will be forced in and down towards us by this afternoon. It's 9:45 right now, or almost 9:45, just to give you an idea on that. All right, so I'm going to pop back out to me real fast here. And why do I want to do that? Why? So I can kind of go look at some cool stuff about Purdue right now. That's where I'm at with my front. Purdue is in the Sweet 16. They won a great ball game yesterday. I got to talk that because I'm off of weather for a little bit, right? So we got to talk a little bit about Purdue sports here. And when we do that, we got to talk about the tournament we've been waiting for. For how long have we been waiting for the tournament to get done and get here? The guys have been trying to go for the national championship. They were the number one team in the country. When was it? It was the preseason, and then they went 17-1 to start the season. They were right there 1 through 4, almost that entire time frame. Other teams came up and started showing that they were better. It looked like the pool of really good teams was much, much better than it originally thought it was going to be, right? Teams like Michigan came out of kind of nowhere. People thought maybe they could be good, maybe they wouldn't be good. They're a great team, right? Teams like Gonzaga, which actually lost yesterday, looked good, but then they were kind of not as good as people said they were, and a lot of people were saying that they weren't that. But it looks like Purdue is going to play Thursday night, 7:10 p.m. on CBS. You'll be able to watch it right here in your town. If you got a little antenna on your TV, you'll be able to watch it. And they will be playing Texas, who is the number 11 seed in this bracket, who have won 2-3 games. They had to win a game to get into the tournament. Then they beat somebody who I've forgotten. And then they beat yesterday they beat somebody again. I can't remember who they were playing because I've been focusing on Purdue and who Purdue's been playing. Purdue beat Miami yesterday, and they beat the team from the Queens, which is in North Carolina, on Thursday. That would have been Friday for them. So Friday and Sunday they won their 2 games. But they're both playing Thursday night, 7:10 p.m. out in San Jose, California. Purdue does travel very well, but so does Texas. It would be nice if you could get out there, buy some tickets. That would be great, wouldn't it? Probably pretty expensive. And it says Sweet 16 again, baby. We are sweet again. And the Boilers turn away Miami to advance to San Jose. And so I'm starting to get some of the numbers in here. I was able to watch the game despite not feeling very good yesterday. Those of you who know me, I left church a little early. I laid down for a little. Well, actually, I dozed off in a chair, watched some of the game, and then went and laid down again. I feel a bit better this morning than I did yesterday. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm doing okay for those of you who saw me at church and knew I left a little early. And no, quite to the contrary, I didn't get sick because there was a Purdue game. I got sick because I've been sick for about 4 days, and it's my spinal cord injury. It's not the flu. I don't have the flu. All right, so there you go. So second seed of Purdue advanced to its 3rd straight Sweet 16 with a 79-69 win over 7th-seeded Miami of Florida in the second round of the West region played in St. Louis. Purdue improved to 29-8 overall and has won 6 straight games by an average of 14.5 points. The 6-game winning streak is currently the 5th longest winning streak in the country. And Purdue becomes the 3rd team currently to reach 3 straight Sweet 16, joined by Duke, Houston, Alabama, Arizona, and Tennessee. They're all still in play yet to play. Well, it says Arizona and Tennessee are still yet to play on Sunday. This because they wrote this article probably right after the game and they were still playing, and I believe both Arizona and Tennessee won, so they will definitely be in that mix. Since the 2017 NCAA tournament, Purdue has reached Sweet 16 7 times in 9 tournaments, tied for the most in the country with Gonzaga, Houston, and Michigan. And since that same 16-17 season, Purdue is now 18-7 in the NCAA tournament, tied for the 4th most wins in the NCAA tournament in that span, with Gonzaga at 24, Duke, Houston at 21, and Purdue, Kansas, and Michigan at 18. How can Connecticut not? They've won it twice. You would think they would have 12. What, Connecticut maybe bowed out? UConn? Come on. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. Maybe they forgot UConn in that. It seems like they would be in the mix, although it goes way out to 2016-17, so maybe they weren't playing as good back then. Since the 23-24 season, Purdue's 9 NCAA tournament wins are tied for the most in the country with Duke and Houston. And Purdue's senior class of Lawyer, Smith, Kaufman, Wren set the school record for the most NCAA tournament wins in a career with 9, and the group also tied the school record for most wins by a senior class at 116. So in Purdue's 2 games at the NCAA tournament this year, the Boilermakers are 66 of 112 from the field and are 22 of 38 from three-point range, 29 of 34 from the free throw line, and that was a big deal yesterday because they made almost everything yesterday. At one point, I think they made their first, was it 15? I'm not sure what it was. It was a lot, but they only missed 1 or 2 yesterday, which made a big difference in the game, because Miami just kept coming at them. It was Miami, a very, very strong team. We'll have to see what Texas is all about. They got Cam Heide on there. He played for Purdue last year, and he hit Texas's game winner yesterday. It was yesterday. So Actually, they played the day before on Saturday, so he hit the game winner for them. It was the only points he scored in that game, but he hit it for them. Matt Painter has 26 wins in the NCAA tournament, and they are the third most in Big Ten history behind only Tom Izzo and Bob Knight at 42 and 61. So 61 for Tom, 42 for Bob Knight, 26 for Matt Painter. And the win was Matt Painter's 500th victory, too. That puts him in 21st place. He is the fourth coach in Big Ten history to win 500 games. All right, so that's a lot. Again, Izzo, Knight, and Gene Cady are the ones ahead of him. And I think he's going to catch Gene Cady next year. And that would be his mentor, right? The guy that brought him up, and one of his. He's got other guys that helped bring him up, too. Purdue is now 17-3 in games played away from Mackey Arena, including a 9-0 in neutral site games. And all 7 of Purdue's wins over ranked teams have come away from Mackey Arena. They are 7-0. And I noticed their record, I believe they changed to the top 6 strength of schedule. Maybe they'll show that in here. Smith's 100 assists. Let's see, he had 12 points and 8 assists in the win over Miami. He didn't shoot very good at all, but that's okay. They still won the game. I was telling my daughter, if they still win this game with him shooting like that, this is a good tournament going to be ahead for them. And they did, because he still did all the little things, right? And he made the free throws down the stretch because they fouled him because he had the ball a lot. And he made every free throw down the stretch. He becomes the third player in NCAA tournament history to have at least 100 points, 100 assists, and 50 rebounds in the NCAA tournament. Only Aaron Mills and Ed Cotta have done that. Smith has 136 points, 100 assists, and 53 rebounds. His 100 assists in the NCAA tournament play are tied for 5th most by a player in the NCAA tournament history. And Fletcher Lawyer's 24 points are the 6th most in NCAA tournament history on 7 or fewer field goal attempts. So he was 6 of 7 from the field. He made his first 6, and 4 of those were three-pointers. Since the start of February, Lawyer is now 58 of 116, and everybody whining about how bad he was, and oh my gosh, what's up with Fletcher Lawyer? He's on. He'll be here again on Thursday night. He'll be draining threes, just like he has been. And in the NCAA tournament, he is now 44% during the NCAA tournament. He's 25 of 57 all time. So that's I'll take that all day. He needs to shoot 10. I love to see him shoot 10 threes a game and have him make 5. They're like 25-1 when he makes 4 3-pointers. And he made 4 last night. They won again, right? So there you go, or yesterday afternoon. Trey Kaufman-Renn was there also. He had 19 points and 9 rebounds, and he moved into 20th place on Purdue's career scoring list and 11th on the career rebounds list. And over his last 5 NCAA tournament games, that's last year and this year, Kaufman-Renn is averaging 20 points and 9 rebounds. Not bad at all. C.J. Cox went 4 of 5 from the field and 3 of 4 from three-point range. As a matter of fact, he nailed 3 threes right before the half ended, and it kind of kept him right in the game still. And he's now shooting 13 of 19 from the field and 9 of 13 from three-point range in 5 NCAA tournament games. So we're going to start calling him big-time CJ right there on that one, right? Got to give him start calling him his new nickname is Big Time. It's what we'll have to do, at least for him. They kind of go through the game. The game in the first half was back and forth. Purdue got up for a little bit, then they got up for a little bit. It looked like Purdue at the beginning might bury them, but they came back pretty strong. Then they took a little bit of a lead, and then Purdue came back. And then right at the end, maybe that last few minutes, it looked like, oh my gosh, Miami might run away with this thing. You know, there was potential there for that. They had gotten down by 5 or whatever it was, and I think Miami had the ball. And then CJ hit those three threes in a row, like 3 straight possessions or 3 out of 4 possessions. And the game went into the half. Was it tied at 38? I think it was tied at 38. Or they made a bucket right at the end. It was either 38-36 or 40-38. They were up by 2 at the half. But that was gone quick into the second half. Purdue came out and just kind of ran over them, went on an 11-3 run real quick, created a little bit of breathing room here and there at times when they started that second half, and then they kind of just kept them at their hands stretched out. But it was a close game. You knew either team could win at any given point with a good surge. And so then after Miami's strong start that included the alley-oop dunk and stuff like that they had in the first half, they're going back over the first half stuff again. But I was talking about the second half. It was pretty exciting to see. Both teams played very well. I felt like there was a lot of pushing and shoving getting done on both sides, but they allowed it for both sides. It's just one team was more aggressive than the other. So with Miami being more aggressive, it felt like they were getting less calls, right? But the game was called the same all the way around. It's just they were more aggressive. Purdue got more free throws. Why? Because they were more aggressive trying to drive down into the lane and getting more, so they got more free throws in the end when you looked at it. So, but the tough bodying seemed to be a little bit more Miami-wise, but generally speaking, everybody played good. There's no reason that, other than Smitty's shooting, and he shot like 80% the game before, so he'll be right back for the next game, and they'll be able to have a reunion with Cam Heide, and hopefully they'll hold Cam to nothing, and they will go ahead and beat Texas possibly on Thursday night. That'll be a tough game. I'll probably have some details on that coming up here tomorrow. I'll maybe give you some ideas of what Texas looks like. We've got tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday to talk about it too before the game gets there, and we'll have some more details and some things like that. Let me hit the PDF of the scoreboard real quick and see who scored what, where, and when. Points-wise, Trey Kaufman-Red had 19, Fletch had 24, Braden had 12, and CJ had 11. So there's your starters, and Oscar had 8, right? The bench only had 5 points, but the bench didn't play a lot, that's for sure. Daniel Jacobson was only in for 2 minutes. Everybody had a positive-negative that was positive. So no matter who came in. C.J. Cox was on the 0. Now, C.J. twisted his ankle in the second half. He extended his knee. He did seem to be walking around late. They took him into the back. Somebody came in. It was I think it was TKR. The other team gets to choose because it was on free throws. He was going in for a layup, and he got 2 free throws out of it, and they give the other team gets to choose, and they chose Trey Kaufman-Wren, who buried both of them. He made both of his free throws. As a matter of fact, Oscar Clough was the only one who missed a free throw. They were 21 of 22, and there have been several games this year that we thought, hey, if they made your free throws, you might be in this game, or you'd be ahead, or it was closer than it should be. And they put a stone in that one, 21 of 22. You come out and you go, 12 of 22, right, which is 60% or a little less than 60%, like they've done a game or two this year, and you lose that game, right, and you're gone. So that's just something to keep in mind when you do that kind of thing. The biggest lead for Miami was 7. Biggest lead for Purdue was 11. And the best scoring run for each team was 9 points. They did that in the first half, and Purdue had a 9-point scoring run in the second half. Lead changed like 3 times. It was just a good game for both teams all around. Purdue had the lead most of the game at 27 minutes, with them leading for about 11 minutes. Turnovers were not good. Braden had a tough game with the turnovers, 8, and a lot of them were just it wasn't even the press coming up the court. They did a press a lot of the time, but they only got a couple turnovers out of it. It was turnovers on passes, trying to squeeze them in places we know he's done before, but instead of the bounce pass, he seemed to go a little higher, and the guy got his hand on it, and I thought, why didn't he bounce past that? Doesn't matter. It's just one of those games. He still had 8 assists, right? And he still scored 12 points. And he also, how about rebounds? He had a couple rebounds too. So it's not like it was just a poor shooting game is all it was for Braden. And one of those oddball turnover games. I don't think you'll see that out of him ever again as they win the next 4 games. That's me talking, all right? All right, so yeah, it was 40-38 at the half. Purdue outscored them 41-29 in the second half. So there's your points, your statistics. Purdue shot 54% total. In the first half, 52% in the second half for an average of 53. They were 25 of 47. This you got to keep in mind here. Remember, there were a lot of turnovers. Purdue only shot the ball 47 times and made 25 of them. They shot the ball 63 times, 16 more shots. They got so many offensive rebounds, and most of them were a little longer. It was like Purdue's guys were in there, but they were a little longer. They weren't the real long ones, and it was just a good, tough battle all the way around. And they were using their bodies and pushing and shoving, just like it always is down low. And they came away with a lot more offensive rebounds, hence a lot of the extra shots, and that kept them in the game. Because if they shoot 40% and in the roles are reversed 47 and 63, well, then Purdue blows them out by 40. Okay, that's easy to say that, but that's how they kept in the game. They got offensive rebounds. They did a great job doing that. One of their big focuses was Malik Renew. They knew they weren't going to stop him, but they did keep him at 16 points, and he had 7 turnovers himself. He was struggling with that, and he only had 5 rebounds. I think that was a good kind of hold there. Trey Donaldson, who scored 13, was a minus 15 on the plus-minus when he was in there. And it seemed like, though, he was always making something happen. It was him or Henderson. Henderson had 18. That was the guy who scored a lot. And their bench did nothing really either. I think one of the guys came off the bench, played a lot, and he did score 11. That was it. What a game. What a game yesterday. It was exciting to see. But for us, what else is going on this week? If you just wanted to know, there was a men's golf tournament that happened on Sunday. Let's see where it is. Where did Purdue go? All right. This was the Ozarks National Invitational, March 23rd to March 25th. So it starts today. If you're interested in that, they have a scoreboard they'll have up for you if you want to see that. You can find that at Purdue Sports. There's a baseball game against Valpo tomorrow. Men's swim and dive, the NCAAs starting on day 1 are Wednesday. Let's see, another baseball game on Wednesday, also against University of Illinois Central, I would think that is. UIC, is that UIC is Central? Could be Indiana Central too, I don't know. But I think that's Illinois Central. And then you get a softball game against Valpo on Wednesday, and men's swim and dive continues on Thursday, March 26th, if you're interested in that. As for us, we are now at 33 degrees still. We still have a feels-like temperature of 18. Winds have shifted around. It says they're out of the south at 14 miles an hour. I'm not sure I believe that at all. That's the totally opposite direction to what they should be. And it does look like we will see a high somewhere in the mid-40s today, 43 to 45. If we see a bit of sun, maybe 45 to 47 kind of thing. Tomorrow around 55 degrees to the upper 50s. And then Wednesday, Thursday, warm. So we're still in that pattern of a couple down, a couple up, a couple down, a couple up. But today is really the only day that will be below normal throughout that period. And then maybe again on Friday where we'll be below normal. But we'll be far above normal on Wednesday and Thursday, as we'll be in the upper 60s to near 70 Wednesday, near 80 on Thursday possibly. Then Friday we crash back down into the 40s, which will be below normal. And Saturday it shows right around 50, 52, so we'll be right around that temperature too. Not a lot of rain in the forecast, scattered stuff. Nothing for the next 24 to 36 hours, just some gloomy clouds this morning, a little windy this morning, wind slowly dying down as the day goes on. Increased sunshine as the day goes on too, and hopefully there's enough. If you get out there and walk around in it and you're kind of blocked by the wind, it feels pretty warm, doesn't it? So you can tell that spring is definitely in the air for everybody. So you guys, that's it for today. I'll be back again 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We will fire it up. We'll look at all the charts again. We'll talk maybe a little bit more Purdue basketball. Maybe we'll talk about what's going on in the world too. You can chat with me on the chat and get in there and do that from 9 to 10 tomorrow morning, each and every morning, Monday through Friday, and then we come in with severe weather updates if needed. It's been great talking with you. I'm Brian Burden, and I'll see you tomorrow.